I'm Janet Aalfs.
Sandy Mandel.
And can you all tell me what your relationship to the program is or was?
I'm an alum I came to the area to go to Hampshire College in 1974. And then I was there for 3 semesters, but already doing a lot of women's studies courses. So then I transferred to women's studies at UMass, and they love to say, look at this student who transferred from Hampshire College. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Well, I had been at Emerson College in Boston for 2 years, where I had my first women's studies class, where the textbook was Our Bodies Ourselves, which was newspaper print, and Jean Kilbourne was my teacher. She was my first women's studies professor, and I had heard of a group called the Amherst Feminist Counseling Collective, and they were in this area, and I had decided at that time to leave theater and move to the Valley because I wanted to, I remember writing in a journal when I was quite young, I want to become the woman someday who I wish I had to talk to now. Mm-hmm. And that they didn't exist. She didn't exist. So I moved out here because of the reputation of the Amherst Feminist Counseling Collective, and did a BDIC degree in psychology in the community and a certificate in women's studies. So
And what year?
I graduated in '78. And you?
I graduated in '79.
So in terms of thinking about your time here, what's, I'm sure you have a ton of fond memories, but could you share one memory that you have interfacing with the program?
Well, I do remember walking into that little office, and I felt like I had come to a place meeting people who were those who I wished I had had when I was growing up to learn from. And so in this very young adulthood, I had the feeling immediately that these were women who I could learn from and work with and feel inspired by, and be given opportunities to basically be myself. I was very shy. I did not feel like I had a voice. And I was really encouraged to explore and find the voice that I knew was there somewhere, but didn't quite know what it was yet.
I would say that probably one of my most memorable moments that related to through women's studies, I was doing my last semester here, I was doing an internship in an organization called Nelquit, which was working in the first domestic violence battered women's shelter in the area. And meanwhile, excuse me, the newspaper here on campus had declined to cover several rapes that had happened on campus, and had also refused to cover Andrea Dworkin, who was a primary feminist theorist. Still, she's no longer alive, but she was. And they said to us that she wasn't news. So I was not one of the instigators of this, but became involved in it. And I'd say one of the most memorable times was the 2 weeks of occupying the Daily Collegian. And this was in the last 3 weeks before we were to graduate from the university, and we literally took over the entire newspaper. We put out a newspaper from below ground called Both Feet in the Door. We have T-shirts to this day. We had a reunion recently where we had these red T-shirts that said both, because what we had said to the editors of the paper is, look, we're just trying to get one foot in the door here. And they had said no, so we said, fine, then we're going to have to settle for two. And we were underground for 2 weeks, and I did not have a problem talking. And I think that one of the reasons was that I'd felt very validated over the years of having, I came from a background that was culturally opinionated, and we talked and we were encouraged to have opinions and to challenge authority. And women's studies basically validated that, and so did BDIC, and said, and then the university said, we are going to expel all the seniors if you don't come back up from underground. And several women's studies faculty who were in Ferguson included, who were occupying the Collegian with us, a collective decision was made that the seniors needed to leave.
So it was both faculty and students who
We occupied the Collegian, and the year later there was Valley Women's Voice, which was a women's newspaper that existed for a number of years, was started. And then I came back to this area having gone to graduate school, and I came back in 1984 during Ronald Reagan's recession with a degree in social work, and the place where I found a job was Every Woman's Center, where I've worked for the last 25 years. So, with 3 different jobs, though, thank you very much. I haven't been doing the same thing, but you'll have to excuse me because I have to go be with our sold-out production of the Vagina Monologues that we're having trying to head out. So just last question, what's your hope for the program? It's a good question.
I was really moved by the panel today and how much energy there is in the room to keep learning and keep growing and transforming what it is that we think is reality. And I'm a martial artist and a poet, and all of those things I was doing when I was here at Women's Studies and getting credit for doing the things that I loved, which I just was completely blown away that was possible. And so I became an artist here at Women's Studies. Mm-hmm. And to hear the voices speaking about all the different angles that women are coming from, including art and science and all kinds of languages and engineering, whatever it is, that they're all connected and that we can keep shaping our lives in ways that are going to enable everyone to have a more decent life. And that, as far as I'm concerned, that's been my experience. I have a way more decent life because of many, many things that I learned here, and that over the years I've stayed in the area. Lots of connections with what goes on here. I come here to teach workshops. I, come to events, poetry the stuff goes on, and it truly improves the quality of life. And I have a lot of hope from today that that will keep growing and changing and not stay static in any way.
I think that we just keep pushing the boundaries, that it just keeps getting wider and wider. And I remember going to the Reproductive Justice March in Washington a couple of years ago, and there were over 1 million people, and the vast majority of women, not only women, but the vast majority, and looking around and going, it worked. We made a revolution. And that for me, Women's Studies was the place where I learned both the academic and the analytical skills as how to understand the revolution that we were in the process of making. And as far as I'm concerned, we've been a part of a successful revolution that continues, and it's programs like Women's Studies here at the university that continues to push the boundaries so that certain parts of that were the kind of the beginning kernels of the program are fairly mainstream right now. Well, that's just fine. That's just fine. And it enables us to continue to kind of push the edges and to push the boundaries all the time. And this program, Women's Studies, has never, ever been complacent. I have personally felt challenged by being in close proximity with the Women's Studies program here, and I've been, for a long time. But we've been a part of a successful revolution, and Women's Studies has been a big part of it.
Thank you both for sharing.
You're welcome, our pleasure.
Pleasure.